Fish Baby Daddy here. Want to go over the wood tank or the Pleco tank, and I want to show you all the details of it in 4K. So here we go. So there was a piece of wood that I actually got in this big wood Pleco tank, and it was bone dry. I had it for like well over a year, and it was gonna float. And so what I ended up doing is that I ended up using one of these enormous zip ties that I actually purchased, and I was able to use that zip tie to actually bind to a rock, and I was just letting that just sit. So you can see how it's kind of intertwined, and I actually used it for two different things. I used it for this piece right here, and then there was this big arching piece that goes over, and I was able to bind that to one rock underneath there. And so I kind of anchored two giant pieces so I could actually make sure that nothing was floating in here. And everything else, you can see some zip ties, some larger zip ties right there and right there to kind of keep down that other piece, because that was floating, because that was crazy dry. And I had these, and so you have a bunch of Plecos in here. And it's hard to find them because they love to hide. And you can see they kind of shoot across and maybe go into the caves a little bit. You can see all some of that detritus kind of hiding. But you got a green phantom in here. I got a blue phantom Pleco in here. I got an L190 Pleco. It's a royal Pleco. I got two blue-eyed redfin Plecos in here. I got a chubby Pleco in here. And you're like, Rob, where are they? They're all hiding. And so they're hiding within the rock. I also have on the back end of this piece of wood right here, I got a big hole. So this is hollowed out, so they could be hiding in there. And I'm not going to disturb them. I'm going to let them do their thing, because there's a good chance that some of these Plecos are going to get a lot bigger as they get older, and I'm going to have to move around some of this wood. I'm going to have to move around some of this stuff, and maybe not have these caves. These caves are big enough for some of these guys right now, but they're going to outgrow them. And I'm going to have to evolve and change. Maybe I have to get some more terracotta pots in here so they can actually move around. One of the big things too with this tank is sorry about the movement there. I was trying to figure out, what do I do for a lid? Because you could go with a normal glass lid like I have on this tank, but they like it a little bit darker, but I wanted to still get some light in here. So I had some leftover egg crate, and so what I did was I used a zip tie. This is a much smaller one in my hand, and I used this zip tie, not the one on the floor, but the one in my hand. And then what I did was I connected a bunch of pieces of egg crate together, and I was able to put that all together and then create kind of like a semi-flexible lid. And one of the reasons I kind of did this too is that you'll notice in this back corner, I have that piece of wood actually sticking out here. So I couldn't actually traditionally put a glass lid on here because that wouldn't work. So there's a little bit of flex here with this, and there's some pieces here that I have kind of zip tied. So it kind of bends a little bit and contorts a little bit, and that's okay. I used some of this Krylon fusion paint to actually make the egg crate black, and that actually helps. It's non-toxic, so it doesn't affect the fish at all. But I had to spray paint that over probably about a week every day. And what I do is let it cure for about 5-7 days. If anyone's curious about Krylon fusion paint, let it cure for about 7 days, and it'll be good to go. And you should be having no issues. So there's a lot of different varieties of wood that I have in this tank, and I did that on purpose so they can actually pick and choose. Not all of these Plecos are pure wood eaters, but they all benefit from having some type of wood in their diet to help supplement their digestion. Now, to piggyback off of this, if you look at the filter itself, this is an Aquaclear 110, which is one of the largest hang on the backs you can get. I just stacked two giant sponges and just stuck those in there. And so those act as mechanical filters to actually help get rid of any excess debris. But what they also do is they help with the biological media. So I was able to get that going. And then I was able to get this title. This title, I believe it's a Title 110, I think. This is the largest title you can get. Hang on the back. And these are just bio rings. I have 2 big bio rings that I actually put in here from other tanks. And I actually put these in here because I had excess bio rings from other tanks in here to kind of get the media going right away so I could actually start this tank because this tank was relatively new. And then what I did was I took some sponge filters. I took some of these sponge filters from some other tanks and I ringed them out in here really good so all that dirt kind of got sucked up into the filters. And I naturally now have instantly a cycle tank. So Plecos are hiding. That's actually a good thing in my eyes. And they'll come out when they're ready. And I'm gonna pick and choose. I try to give them as many caves as possible, and they're behind some of these crevices. I'll feed them algae pellets. And what I'll do is supplementally, once in a while, put some protein pellets in there, but I won't put in that often. Because I know that they need a little bit of that in their diet, but primarily you're looking at algae and wood and a lot of places for them to hide. And so I want them to grow and thrive, and I want them to get nice, big, and chubby. And then I'll start actually pulling some of this wood out, maybe pull out some of those caves I have on the bottom over time and get this thing to evolve and maybe give them a little more space and maybe eventually, get into a bigger tank. I know that the L190 that I have is going to get big. He's going to get over 12 inches long, and he'll be probably 4 inches wide or even wider. The Chubby Pleco is going to get real big. He's got he'll have a wide body to him, and so I know that that's going to actually evolve and change. But for right now, this is a good grow out tank, and it gives them a lot of hiding spots and a lot of different varieties of wood they can pick and choose for digestion. I'm doing 50% water changes every single week. I'm particularly paying attention to soft water. These fish are from South America. They like softer water primarily. So the wood's gonna help a little bit with that because I have so much of it. But primarily what I use an RO system, and I put some remineralization a little bit in there so it's just not pure RO. I got it on a timer. I have the light that actually runs on a timer. It runs for about 8 hours. And that's pretty much it. I wanted to be straightforward with you in terms of what I'm doing with this tank. It's a lot different than my other tanks. It doesn't have a substrate right now. It's a glass bottom. And I do that to kind of keep track of some of that extra detritus, and maybe I can clean up a little bit easier. Because I know that these Plecos are poop machines. They're just going to produce a lot of waste. And it's a lot easier if I have a bare bones tank and I have it cycled with a lot of filtration here for a 40-gallon breeder. Got a lot of space in here, and I'm hopeful that we can keep evolving this tank. But I wanted to kind of show you kind of like what I was doing in terms of, all right, got some excess right there over there with the wood. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna improvise and evolve a lid that's a little bit different. And how am I gonna do this with trying to get as much filtration in there and try to actually get that tank to be a little bit unique and a little bit different than anything else I've done before. So there is the Pleco wood tank. So there you have it, my Pleco wood tank. It's a little bit different than my other tanks. Wanted to show you something that's a little bit different, but I want to make sure this one was in 4K so you can actually see this on your TV and it's nice and clear. So until next time, fish baby daddy.